Teamwork isn't just nice to have in business, it's the undisputed competitive advantage. When your team members work as a unified force, your whole operation benefits through higher productivity, thriving creativity, and unstoppable momentum. Welcome to the Impactful Teamwork Podcast, where we share with you strategies and tactics to help you develop game-changing teams so that you and your business can make a real difference in the world. Welcome everyone to another edition of Impactful Teamwork. And this week I'm delighted to be joined by Luke Jorgenson. And Luke is a coach, but specifically for sales teams. And I know sales is always a challenge that a lot of business leaders and executives have. For many of it, it's the job that we never want to do, right? But Luke is an absolute master of it. And he's going to share a little bit about his track history in sales and also what he's learned about leading sales teams. So Luke, welcome to Impactful Teamwork. We are so glad to have you here.
Thanks, Julia. Hey, and congrats on your 100th episode just recently.
Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you so much for that. So, Luke, tell people a little bit about yourself. You've had an interesting sales career, though. So tell people a little bit about that, because I think you've done really what I'd call hardcore sales in terms of what you were doing. And I think probably the most difficult type of sales ever. But share with us your experience.
Yeah, I just decided just to go the most difficult sales route ever. Just make it hard right away. Sink or swim. So I come from the door-to-door sales industry. And here in the US, it's an industry, it's not as common in some other countries, but here in the US, we still have people that go out there and they bring their services directly to the homeowners and they knock on the door and they take a very cold door and try to warm it up and get interest. And then obviously see if there's interest there and sell and teach and offer a product. So I sold solar energy, did that for 10 years.
Wow.
And yeah, it was a great ride, but boy, you're right. It's not easy. And I think the average length of stay in that industry is 6 to 7 months.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid growing up, and certainly I've not experienced so much direct door-to-door selling nowadays, but certainly when I was younger. And there's always a joke here in the UK. It's the double glazing salesman. They were always the man that was coming knocking door to door, trying to sell you double glazing at the time when most people didn't have double glazing. And I always think it's a hard job, I think, because you've really got to learn how to be rejected quite brutally. I'm sure you've had many doors slammed in your face and stuff like that along the way. Or are they more polite in the US?
They're pretty polite. But yeah, it doesn't matter if the rejection's hard or nice, it's still the end result is rejection, right? So yeah, that is sprung on you daily. It's a daily thing. And that sales is kind of like a muscle. I talk to people, you're not going to walk into a gym and just start lifting the heaviest weights ever. It's painful. You're sore after. And that's kind of how sales is. But eventually you build that muscle of, they just didn't understand me. They didn't get it. They're not interested. So that's fine. No big deal. There's always a next door. And I think in lots of ways, in lots of areas, it's that mentality of, hey, you're going to get the no's, and we got to a point where you expect it, and it's not weird. It's not difficult. It's not crushing. It just comes with the territory, right? It's just the way it is. So you get used to it. And that fear of rejection is usually worse than the actual rejection. like the fear of what are they going to say? Oh no. Any fears, we build it up to this big thing, and then we do it and we're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. It was kind of bad, but it wasn't terrible. So that fear of rejection is a big thing. It holds a lot of people back, but the actual rejection is not as bad.
And it's so true, isn't it? How what we imagine something's going to be like is always usually way worse than it turns out to be. And so I'm curious though, how do you develop that mental muscle to, I was going to say, accept rejection, for want of a better word? Because there's a lot of people wouldn't even go out and do the first knock on the door, right? Because it's too terrifying. And certainly with the teams that you've been leading, with people come onto them, how do you help them to get on the path, to get some resilience, really.
Yeah, it's
To,
really difficult. It was interesting because we'd often people would come in, they'd interview, they look great. Like, oh man, this guy or gal is going to be really good. And then it's really interesting because some of those people, they're willing to just jump right in and just kind of go at
Mhm.
it. And they're okay being bad at first. And they're okay failing at first. And then you have those people who are like, I'm planning, I'm getting my area, I'm really seeking out my I'm working on this, I'm working on that. And they're honestly they're just procrastinating, right? And so as leaders, I think the best way we can kind of get people through that is just to get them right out there. Literally
Mhm.
throw them in the pool. Kind of sink or swim a little bit, and
Mhm.
you're there to pull them in if you need to, but literally we just kind of like break through that barrier. And like I said, once they do, it's not as bad as they think. And then over time, just developing skills gives you more confidence. Having a little bit of success obviously develops
Mhm.
confidence, but breaking through that fear has everything to do with confidence. And so,
Mhm.
getting better, mentoring them, having someone that's going to mentor them that's been there, done that is really key to getting. Because we hire quite often, and getting people, new hires up to speed is everyone works on that, and that's important, right? Getting that person up to speed. So
Yeah.
if you can just like literally just throw them in, honestly, and realize it's going to be a struggle, but having someone there as a support, I think
Mhm.
that's really key.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you about that support because I'm that person that procrastinates, right? Absolutely.
Love it.
I redraw my area and everything, trying to decide where to go because in my mind I couldn't think of anything worse. But it's interesting. You talk about throwing them in. Do you have somebody buddy with them that goes in with them to support them, or are they somebody literally standing at the end of the driveway, pushing them down, going, go?
I wasn't quite as bad as my training. My training was I went out with a guy and I was with him on the doors. And when I first started, I was brand new. I was a teacher before this, so I had no sales
Okay.
training at
Oh,
all,
wow.
none.
Yeah.
And we went out and he knocked on a couple doors and talked to a couple people. And then he said, Hey, I'm going to go to my area. You just keep going. And I'm like, Whoa, wait a minute, me? I was half paying attention. I didn't know what to expect, honestly. And then I was like, Oh man. And so then he had me do it that day and honestly just fell and it was fine. But it was a test too to see if I would do it. And
Sure.
so they didn't want to spend time with someone that literally wasn't just going to kind of dive in. And I
Mhm.
don't blame them because they'd been burned before by people that tried it and failed and didn't want to stick with it. And so the
Mhm.
next day, then it's okay, what happened? How did it go? And then the training started to happen, right? And that methodical day in, day out training happened. But it's almost like I had to prove myself to these guys if I was
Mhm.
worth their effort.
Yeah. No, totally makes sense. And I know now that you're coaching sales teams, and it sounds like that you had some great coaching in how to sell from your mentor then.
Yeah. So my background was I was a high school teacher and a coach. And I've always valued coaching. And
Mhm.
I've gotten out here and in that world, obviously the sports world, everyone has a coach, top
Yeah.
athletes. You're going to the Olympics, every Olympian has a coach. Tiger Woods had a swing coach at the
Mhm.
height of his career. I mean,
Yeah.
Roger Federer has a coach. Like all these greats have coaches, and then we get out in the real world and people are just trying to figure it out on their own and no one's getting
Yeah.
mentorship and coaching and they feel like if they do, there's something wrong with them. And I don't get it. I do not understand it because I'm thinking a coach is further on the path than what I am. Let me just learn from them and let me just speed up that process. I don't
Mhm.
have to go through the decade of experience that they have to. I just got to listen to what they say. And that served me really well in the beginning of my career. And now I'm like, I often, because I'm training sales teams and I often have to get them over that. Like they think they're in trouble if there's coaching going on, think something's wrong with them. And it's not that. The best of the best get coaching, and that's why they're the best.
Yeah, and I so relate to that because I remember when in corporate when I was first given a coach, and I felt like I was on the naughty step, and the coach was a
Yeah.
bit like remedial therapy for some reason and I didn't understand it at all. And I think perhaps things are better today because this would have been probably 20 years ago. And I don't think coaching was really understood then. And it certainly then it had a stigmatism to it of why would you have a coach? Why do you need it? And I think now things have improved, but there's still a lot of business owners out there who I think feel like we have to do it all ourselves. And therefore, why do we need to accept help from anyone, or why should we invest in paying anyone to help us? And of course we all know that the value of a coach is they see the things we don't, right? They see all the blind spots. That's why the athletes have a coach, because they're like, if in, I don't know, you look at Roger Federer, for example, if you just did this slightly differently, you get a different result. So
Yeah, and it totally changed the game. I still go back to my beginnings, but I remember, so we'd have team trainings about sales twice a week, and I
mhm,
was literally afraid to miss those. And there were people that kind of would come and go and miss things for dumb things, the dentist or the doctor or
mhm,
whatever, dumb reasons. And I was afraid to miss them because what if that one day there was that one key thing that just totally changed my game? And because I've had those days where that one little statement, that one little training, and it totally changed everything for me.
mhm.
So we just don't know what we don't know. And instead of the trial and error, I think eventually anyone can figure out anything, like
Yeah,
eventually,
eventually.
eventually. But like, how long do you want to waste? People are scared to drop 5 grand, 10 grand, whatever it is. Instead, they want to waste a year at 10 grand. Like, I don't get it. They just wasted 120,000 because they're afraid to get $10,000 in coaching or whatever
Yeah,
the number is. And yeah, that's just the
mhm,
way I look at it. It's a no-brainer to speed up the process.
yeah, no,
And I
that's
have coaches right now. I have a social media coach. I'm not great at social media. I'm not good at it. And I have people that are training me in things that I'm
mhm.
trying to develop and get good at.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I have coaches too, and they're really valuable in sharing their expertise on ways that they've done things to improve. So let's just move the conversation a little bit on to what are some of the best lessons you've learned from leading all these teams? Because you've been leading teams in a really tough environment, door to door selling. What are some of the things that have worked really well, and what do you wish you had maybe done differently as a leader of teams?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is the whole picture. So we have people that are struggling with their sales results, and they think it's literally one little thing. And it's typically that one thing is obviously important, but they don't realize like how everything is impactful on sales. So I have a framework I call the proven 5 sales systems, and it's 5 different areas that drive sales. So it's compensation, it's incentives, it's obviously sales training, and that's where most people think it's only sales training to get better at sales. It's team culture, and then it's leadership mentoring. And each one of those areas impacts sales. And so a lot of times people come out, hey, we need help with sales. What kind of trainings can you do? And then we step back and we realize there's no team culture. The environment is negative. The environment is not positive. The environment's not about winning culture. And so actually the biggest driver is going to be to fix this first, fix the environment, and then we can talk more about how to close a deal, how to overcome an objection. But it's
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting. So we try to take a holistic approach to it because all those impacts. Just look at compensation, for instance. If your comp plan is on a pay structure that has nothing to do with performance, like it's just hourly and there's
Mhm.
no benefits, there's no incentives to push the needle and move sales forward, you'll get the bare minimum. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what you do anywhere else. If your
Mhm.
comp plan doesn't pay for performance and people performing and going the extra
Mhm.
mile, you can kind of only get so far.
Yeah.
So we take a kind of more of a holistic look at teams. And I think the biggest misconception is that people just don't realize like how other things impact sales. The whole environment impacts. Like if you're stressing your people out, they're not going to sell well. They're not. They really won't. If you don't make it like a game and fun and interesting, like,
Yeah.
and if you make sales trainings boring and non-impactful and not useful. Like it literally
Mm.
will do the opposite.
Yeah. And I love that you've spoken there about the culture and the environment, because I think that this is part of business that's so often not spoken about and has such a massive impact on whether it's the team culture within an organization or even the physical environment makes a big difference. And we don't really ever look at that. So I love that you take this much more holistic view and look at the environment. So what does a good environment look like then?
So really good environment. This is where we took our sales teams from pretty good to really great. By like literally, this was the only thing that was missing, and it was something that I knew was important. But just as we go, we start focusing on things that we don't do what we know we need to do. So we for about a couple years, we really focus on culture, and what that means is how do we were really decisive about how we wanted our team culture to feel. The feeling when you walked in the room, like what
Mhm.
does it feel like to be a part of our team? And we really worked on connections, really worked on it. So we started having, so often we'd run incentives, right? Where just to push the pace a little bit. Hey, this week we're going to give out this gift card or whatever, right?
Yep.
Instead, we started saying, hey, this week we dictated everything towards an experience.
Right.
And so instead of that, it was, hey, we're having, if you do XYZ, these metrics, you're invited to the dinner. What we did there is we're spending the same $100 on a gift card, $100 on the dinner, but the impact of that time with our people, and it really changed the game. So we were a big believer in experiences, spending time together. And then what blossomed was this natural friendship and this natural really team camaraderie where literally you will literally do anything to help your
Mhm.
friends. They're not your team anymore,
Yeah.
they're your friends. And so we started seeing people going the extra mile to help each other. People like bending over backwards to try to help the team win, doing extra things that never would have been. They would
Yeah.
have gotten their metrics, their sales for the week and been done. Now all of a sudden they're
Mhm.
pushing, they're hit their metrics. Now they're pushing to go above their metrics to help the whole team win. And so that team culture, we had a saying that was pay gets them in the door and culture gets them to stay.
Yeah, I love that. Pay gets them in the door, culture gets them to stay. Yeah. So it's so
Yeah.
true. And it's all about building those relationships with our team members. So everyone feels part of it. And then everyone wants to show up and do their best because nobody wants to let the side down, let the team
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, that's right. I'll give you, we knew we had it going pretty good when this was a pretty great story. So we had, and it's often in door to door, like people just don't make it. And typically they don't make it and it's 100% commission. So they just leave.
Yeah,
Like we don't even have to get rid of them. They just like,
sure.
I gotta go. I'm not making any money. And we're, yeah, this is not for you.
Yeah.
It's fine. Like you did your best. Go be a waiter now or
Yeah, whatever.
whatever.
Yeah.
Go put yourself on LinkedIn now. But we had where people would come to us and we started where we're like, hey, there's this guy and we're like, he's not making it. He's not making any money. Like, how is he even living? And we went to him, we're like, hey, you got to go do something else. You're
Hmm.
not making any money. You're wasting your time here. Like, we're just thinking, like, we're looking out for him. Like, yeah, I know, I need to. And we like parted ways. Hey, softly, you're fired. Go do something else
Yeah.
because this is not working anyway. And then he texts us later, texts us leadership and said, hey, does this mean I can't come to the events? That's because we would have once a month, we would have a get together, and we're like, yeah, it means you can't come to the events. But we knew that was the only reason he was there, is the culture was just so good and it was so uplifting in his life, right? He had people that cared about him. He had fun experiences. He was learning. He was developing. He just honestly was just terrible at the job.
Yeah. That's a testament to your culture that somebody wants to stay there, even though it's not economically sound for them
Yeah. So
to
can I
do
work here
it.
for free?
Yeah.
Maybe we should
And
have charged him.
yeah. And I know you were telling me before you worked in school and that you were a basketball coach. So I'm just curious. That's a great example of a team that has to be really tight, right? And
Yeah.
it's got a really clear vision and goal, win the game, get enough baskets. So what have you taken from all your lessons of coaching in basketball into your sales coaching and helping organizations create high performing sales teams?
Yeah, funny because we kind of go in and we look at that culture aspect and a lot, and we kind of treat it like a team. It's, hey, how do we get the most out of every individual person? It's not a one catch all, hey, let's
Mhm.
just do this is the method. It's, hey, how can I get the most out of this person? And that as you look in your group and you got to realize what does every individual need? Do they need more training? Do they need more encouragement? Do they need more leadership? Do they need a kick in the pants, so to speak? What's their personality? And I think getting to know your people. And as we've looked at culture in teams and organizations, often the CEO, the head founder, is like, "Hey, this is our culture," and then we get down to what it really is.
Yeah.
And the culture actually ends up being who's ever spending the most time with the people. The culture ends up being like that person
Yeah.
every time.
Mhm.
So those key individuals that are with the most people every day, that's how the culture works. And
Mhm.
that's how our team culture worked too. The VPs, whatever, they didn't have a pulse on our team. We had a pulse on our team because we were with our people day in,
Yeah.
day out.
Yeah.
So we just want to have that developing every single person. And then that what that does is that helps the entire team.
I just think it is so fascinating, the analogies between sport and business. And there's so many lessons that we can take from what we learn in sport over into the business world. And yeah, I still come back to this thought that the business world just isn't always up for having the coach and having that level of mentorship that we see in the athletics world particularly. So I'm just thinking as we start bringing this towards a close, what's your top 3 tips for anyone who's listening to the podcast today and is, let's say, personally struggling with sales? First of all, let's have a look at what are some tips for an individual to use, because I think
Yeah.
I need to be, I'll own this. I'm not a big fan of sales, right? And I know that there are some people that are, but I think there's a lot of people, particularly when we set up our own businesses, where I was in corporate and I could sell really well in corporate. But when all of a sudden the business and you're selling yourself, it's quite different, right? So advice have you got for business leaders that start selling their own business, how to do it? Just some of the mindsets that we need to have or some of the strategies and tactics that we need to use.
Yeah, the skill of selling is literally, I'm so grateful. I literally just went into sales because I thought the money was really good. And I had no idea the skill develop and how universal that skill was going to
Mm,
be. And literally the skill of selling is so valuable. If you're a CEO and you're trying to explain your vision to the company, or you got to make hard decisions and you got to sell that, like,
yeah.
period. You got to communicate why, the how, the when, all
Mhm.
those things, right? And so the skill of selling is universal no matter where you're at. You're in a sales role, you're not in a sales
Mhm.
role. You're with a team of people and you want them to see the value that you bring to yourself. That's a sales skill. And I get it. When before I was in sales, I'm like, I'm not a salesman. I had this vision in my head what a salesman, carrying a briefcase and or whatever it was, slick talking, whatever. And we had people that were successful in every personality type. So the sales is not a personality. And we had this shy girl, just to give you she was young,
Mhm.
shy. And everyone told me, don't hire her. She's going to be a waste of time. And in the back of my mind, I was like, they're probably right, but I'm just going to give her a shot. And she came out and she did really well. And the biggest thing for her is I said, hey, how come you think you're doing really well? And she said, Luke, I honestly didn't know if I do well, but you showed me that how my personality and I don't have to be someone else and I can
Mm.
still sell.
Yeah.
Because so what we taught is it's not about personality, it's about proven methods.
Mhm.
Every personality can do the proven methods. And so we have proven methods that obviously we work on. And obviously, the teaching of sales is my very best skill.
Yeah.
That's my very best skill. We talk about all these other team cultures and all these, but
Mm.
the skill of selling is my best skill. So I think getting over that hump is first saying, get that out of your mind. I'm not a salesman. Okay, maybe you're not the typical salesman.
Mhm.
Boom, there you go. That's a better way to
Yeah.
think about it. Now, how can I learn to be myself and still communicate really well?
Mm. Yeah.
That's all it's about. Like, how can I communicate really well about what I'm talking about?
Mm.
People say I'm not a salesman, and then all of a sudden you say, "Hey, where do you like to go eat?" And they'll sell you on their
Yeah.
favorite restaurant, or
Oh, yeah.
or hey, or what are you watching on Netflix that you're loving? And they'll just sell you on that Netflix show, and you're like, "Aha! I knew you were a salesman."
Mm.
So we do it naturally, but doing it in a natural way, not a fake way, and being very real about it is really key.
Yeah. And I love that because I think it's great because it's about being authentic in sales because sales is all about forming relationships and connections with people, right? And yeah, any personality type can do it. And I think what's great is that we've got to remember that all of our buyers are different personality types too. And
Yes.
there's probably some salespeople will do better with some types of people than others, for example. And that's fine. And I guess the most skilled salespeople are able to adapt their pitch, for want of a better word, to the different personality styles. Some people just want things straight to the point, no messing around, and others are like, they want war and peace before they're going to make a decision. And therefore, that's our job to understand the people that we're speaking with and adjust our delivery and what we're sharing with them towards it. But I think it's so interesting, like you said there, though, that we are all salespeople. And like you said, people will quite happily sell you on their favorite restaurant, but ask
Oh
them to
yeah.
sell their business, a
Yeah.
product in their business. And sometimes they struggle with that. It's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, you have a spouse, like you're selling. Like you have kids, you're
Yeah,
selling. Like
yeah, for
I'm
sure.
telling you, like you are, and a lot of you are just not doing a very good job at it. No, I'm just kidding. But going back to that, you mentioned about the personalities, and so every personality can sell, but we have found like the very top people. So if those are
Mhm.
who are hiring, or they might be this person, they're actually like a chameleon. And it's called, you've heard of extrovert and introvert.
Yeah.
It's actually called an ambivert.
All
They
right. I've
can
heard that
literally
term.
change.
Mhm.
They can change depending on, and so this is from Daniel Pink, the
Oh, yeah.
author, and he labels them an ambivert, which I like. And they can literally change from setting to setting and still be comfortable. It's not that
Yeah.
they're not themselves, they're
Mm.
still themselves. They're just more easy going back and forth between being an extrovert, being an introvert, being detailed oriented, being
Mhm.
fun, that type of thing. And those are really like the top people. But it doesn't mean if you're not one of those. If you're an extrovert, you can be very good. If you're
Mm.
an introvert, you can be very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. No, and I love that ambivert, yeah. And I think that's it's such a good business skill to be able to flex your communication style, whether you're communicating for sales or for whatever you're doing. Because like you say, actually everything we do pretty much in life, we're selling. We're selling our ideas, our concepts, our thoughts to other people. Your
Yeah.
ability to, what's the word I want to use, pivot, between
Yes.
different people is such a valuable skill
Yeah.
for anyone.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the other, just as far as giving people real life things that they can work on right
Mm.
away, the thing that I really bring out is people think of sales and they think of talking first. And it's actually getting really good at asking questions. And sales, then, because you're like, I don't want to be a salesy person. It's like, all right, just ask a lot of questions. And it took me about a year into my sales career where I started to figure this out, a little bit of help with a mentor and then practicing it and tweaking it and figuring out, oh my goodness, the more I ask questions, the better it is. A, because I get information where they're coming from. B, I get time to think. And now all of a sudden I have a path. People will show
Mhm.
you the path to go down if you ask
Yeah.
enough questions.
Yeah.
They literally will guide you and direct you right where to go.
Mhm.
And so that's a big one is we just don't ask enough questions. And anyone can do that. Like
Mhm.
anyone can ask questions. And it makes sales really natural, really easy, really conversational. And that's what we're all about. I call it my smooth selling framework. It's about making sales really smooth and easy and not hard for them. And it's not hard for you. It was funny because it was very often people would answer their door and be like, wait, is this a sales pitch? And I've been talking to her for 2 or 3 minutes because it was so conversational, so
Mhm.
natural that it almost hit them. Wait a minute. And I was like, yeah, I'm out selling. Like, we're just talking. Like, fine. Or they'll say, I never had a salesperson like you. And I'm like, that's the biggest compliment I can get.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
never had a salesman like you. And it's because it was just a natural way to sell.
Mhm.
And it got the results. In fact, it got way bigger results than your typical sales push, close, push. And people appreciate it. They respond better. And that's the biggest thing is when people are comfortable, they typically act in the way that they're feeling and the natural way to act. And when people are put in the corner,
Yeah.
they'll usually say no, even though they probably want to say yes. They'll say no just in
Mhm.
defiance.
Yeah.
I can talk about sales all day long.
Oh,
Sorry.
I know. So just a couple of points. Just want to bring out that I think it's such a great reminder there that actually selling is actually all about asking great questions and listening to what
Yes.
is said. And actually, if we reframe selling to that's all we're doing, I think it in my mind anyway, it changes the dynamic of what I'm doing. If I just think I'm going to have a conversation with somebody, ask them loads of questions, listen to what they've got, and then if my products and services are match, happy days, and if it's not, fine. Rather than sometimes I
Yeah.
think we put this pressure on ourselves every time we go into a sales conversation, we've got to sell, we've got to sell, we've got to sell. And like you say, it becomes really staccato, it's not conversational, and people pick up on the energy. Or if you're really desperate for the sale, people
Oh,
are like,
yeah.
and they, you said backed into a corner. They're a bit like, ooh, what's the catch? So I think there's a whole energy around sales as well that's really important in terms of how we show up for the conversation with people.
Julia, you're good at sales. I can see that already. Tell me you weren't good at sales. I'm not believing you because
I talk a
that
good talk.
energy piece is great. Some of my worst weeks were when I was stressed and feel like I was behind and I needed to sell for me. And my best weeks were, hey, I'm just going to help the right people.
Yeah,
If it's a great fit, I'm going to do my best to really help them.
yeah,
And gladly, we had a product that I felt really great about and a
mm,
service, and it really was beneficial to people.
yeah,
And I see sometimes salespeople are stuck with honestly bad products or service that they don't believe in them
yeah,
and they need to get out. Like you need to work your way out of that. There's so much out there. There's so many product services that you can find. And but if you're good at sales, then you'll find the right fit for you.
mm,
Obviously, if you don't have that skill, then it doesn't matter what product.
yeah,
But if you're not really jiving with the product service, then I would really consider getting somewhere where you're really happy about the product service and it's a quality product or service because that
yeah.
obviously that makes a
Yeah.
big difference.
Yeah, and I know what in my previous lives, I've done some network marketing, and I know that the people who did really well had used the products and services. They'd have some massive transformation, and their kids' eczema had been solved, or things like that. I'm also going to use the word evangelical about the products and services. They were so absolutely convinced in their success, and they were the people that did really well because they absolutely believed in their products and services. And you absolutely can't sell something if you don't believe that you're going to get somebody the outcomes that they want.
Yeah, if we have the energy of we're getting one up on somebody, that's the wrong energy to have. Plus it'll come around to bite you anyway. Like
Yeah.
and the way we sell it is really interesting because a lot of teams and a lot of people in that door-to-door industry, they just drive through an area and sell through it and leave. And it doesn't really matter what they say to people, if they lie, if they cheat. We
Hmm.
sold totally different. We stayed in an area in a city for years,
Right.
years. So I sold in the same city for 6 straight years.
Wow.
and it wasn't a big city. So meaning the reputation in that area became really important. And instead of burn and turn it, it was culture, nurture it,
Yeah.
cultivate it, plant the seeds, let it grow, plant the seeds again, let it grow again. And that's really a different mentality. And
Yeah.
it served us really well.
I love that analogy. Luke, I'm very aware we've been talking for quite a long time. So
You're good.
just as we bring this to a close, how do people get hold of you if people want to find out more about your sales training, what you do? What's the best way for people to reach
So the
out to
best
you?
way probably is to get on my LinkedIn. So it's at Coach. And there I have links to my website, links to a couple freebies. I always give out some freebies. So the current
Awesome.
freebie is a sales quiz. So if you're a CEO, founder, business owner in the C-suite, etc., take this free sales quiz about those 5 areas, those 5 sales systems, and it's going to give you feedback where your strengths is, where you're weak, and then there's some trainings along with wherever you're weak. You can watch them and really take some really quick
Oh,
actions
wow.
to get the needle moving. Yeah, that'll be a link in my Instagram. There's a link there.
Okay, cool. And we'll put all the links in the show notes as well.
Oh, great. Even better.
Yeah, no, thank you. So, Luke, thank you so much for your time today. It's been so insightful to pull back the curtain on sales and just think about ways that we can approach it to have more success. And so, for everyone listening, I'd love you to reflect this week and take some action on what you can do to improve your sales this week and what are you going to implement from what you've heard from Luke this week. So, thank you everyone for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you so much for your time, Luke.
Thank you, Julia.
Thanks for listening to the Impactful Teamwork Podcast. Please stay tuned for future episodes and do subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating on your favourite platform. Recommendations are essential for attracting new listeners. Please follow us on social media at Julia Felton and at Business Horsepower. And if there are any topics you'd like us to cover on future episodes, please do let me know. Remember, you and your team are always making an impact. What impact will you make today?